Well, good morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
Let them know what they're in for.
Oh, we'll recap Monday Night Football for some of the people that got to watch it. And we'll get into it. You know, it is the trade deadline in the NFL. We'll talk about that, plus miscellaneous news. And our boy 24KG, which I am super pumped to talk to him because there is a lot of stuff going on in the world of wrestling. And you can call or text in anytime at 661-842-2000.
Absolutely. And the text question that I have for the day, we talk about every other team, but is Dallas dead? Because watching that game last night, I'm not going to lie to you, not a lot to get excited about. At least offensively, they looked, well, worse than normal. But defensively, I don't know if you could save that anymore.
Yeah. If it wasn't
really
for their special teams,
that
would be even more bleak.
Yeah. And I mean, we'll start there with the Monday Night Football. I think everybody came out expecting a little bit more of a show from Dallas. 3.5-point favorite at home against an Arizona Cardinals team that was playing with their backup quarterback. We'll get to that in a second, though, because it seems to be everybody's kind of saying that shouldn't be the case anymore. That Jacoby should be the next starter for Arizona going forward, and the Kyler Murray experiment might be dead in Arizona, but we'll get to that in a second. We'll start with Dallas and this just abysmal game. The one thing that Dallas was able to hang their hat on this entire season so far has been their offense, especially at home. They've been dominant at home. They could score. But I think I have to echo what I heard a little bit on Get Up this morning, which was when you have teams like the Cowboys and the Bengals who have literally all of their eggs in one side of the basket, it puts a lot of pressure on that side to really play outstanding every single week. And obviously, when that doesn't happen, you get games like this where people start to believe you're a pretender and you're probably not going to be anywhere near competing for a playoff spot, which I don't know if I want to go that far with Dallas just yet. But last night looked like a pretty close indication to me that they do not defensively, at least, have what it takes to keep up with anybody that would be fighting for a playoff spot. But that's just my personal opinion. What are your thoughts, my friend?
I think they've unraveled. I think I don't know. I mean, they're in the bottom 3 of the NFC. I mean, there's still plenty of time.
I think the second worst behind the Bengals.
Or going in, yeah. And we talked about both of those teams going too hard on maybe offense and not addressing their defense. And then right before kickoff, they trade off their key piece of the defense, which I'm not too shocked that the defense is as bad as it is. I know this morning they traded with it was the Bengals. Yeah, they picked up a linebacker, Logan Wilson, which a big topic is, were they going to go big before the deadline? And I don't think they should, personally. I mean, with the stacked draft picks and I mean, why would, I mean, who comes out to mind? Would you overpay for a guy like Trey Hendrickson? I mean, he's on the other side of 30 and you're going to have to pay him because that's what he's in line for, is a big payment. And Dallas I think would be foolish to trade and try to bank this guy when he's in the later part of his career. I think he would fit better for a team like New England or, a team that's in the fight right now. But personally, I mean, plus New England has got the most salary cap money to spend. But overall, I think Dallas is they almost look better when CeeDee Lamb wasn't in the lineup. And that offense, I don't know if it's the line. I know the turnovers were stacking last night after, Williams fumbled. They just look ugly. And that was another topic I wanted to bring up, is the people that have YouTube TV couldn't watch the game because it's on, a Disney Channel. Luckily, for sake of the WWE, I have ESPN Plus, so I was able to watch the game, which you didn't miss anything if you didn't watch it.
No, yeah, this one I don't think you're going to really be crying yourself to sleep that you missed a
But
Cowboys and Cardinals.
I don't think Dallas is in the position to be a playoff team with any high hopes.
Not anymore. I mean, again, there was a little bit of hope, I feel like, just because the offense was so good. And we've seen NFL teams make it at least to the playoffs with an incredible offense. And Dak, again, was in those conversations of potentially being the MVP and, helping this team out where they needed it. And I don't know, like, I kind of am with you that I get your point that maybe they shouldn't make any moves and they should just live with the team and go through this entire season the way it is. But the other thing that pops up in my head is, you think Jerry Jones, when he made that trade and got rid of Micah, especially after the game against the Packers, when he went to the media and said, well, we traded away Micah, got a couple draft picks, and we tied. So obviously we won. It's like, you look at games like this and then you say, you still saying the same thing, Jer? I mean, I know you're actually more paying attention to the giant oil mine that you're trying to mine or trying to dig up right now. But at this point, when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, I kind of get what you mean, because the trade with the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously all the Cowboy fans were hoping for a different linebacker coming over. But like you just said, and we said yesterday, why would he trade for Trey Hendrickson when he didn't want to pay Micah? If he's not going to pay Micah, he's not going to pay Trey, which means it would be an absolute moot point. We would have essentially a Hassan Reddick situation where Trey probably would hold out and never play for the Cowboys at all.
He's on a bad team already.
Exactly. It's like, no. And I actually like your pick of him going to New England, because I forget, before this entire thing started, especially with the contract situation, New England was one of those heavy teams that was considering saying, hey, come on over, we'll pay you. Like, come play for our defense. And honestly, he would fit really well with Mike Vrabel's defense, but that's all besides the point.
I mean, if you're Jerry, and I understand it's only week 9, week 9's over, we're halfway through the season. Anything could happen. And, in Jerry's mind, we got all this money, we got all these trades, we got all these draft picks. You know what I mean?
That's the positive about this Logan Wilson trade, is the only thing you had to give up was literally pennies.
Yeah.
You gave a 7th rounder, and I don't think that they're really going to be crying over that. And you got a guy who essentially probably could come in and be a starter for your defense right now. And I mean, and that's not me saying that he's an amazing linebacker. I'm sure he's going to be great for them, but I think that he's at least good enough to walk in and be some sort of contributor to this defense. But I kind of agree with you that you really have nobody else on the ledger that would make that much of a difference for your defense this year anyway.
Go ahead. Go get Bradley Chubb.
I mean, there's one, I guess.
You can have him.
But that's kind of the other side of the coin that I'm thinking of too, is if you're Jerry and you want to be competitive, and you're really 3-5-1 right now, so you're not too far out of it. But if you don't make a move and you guys end up collapsing this season, it's all going to be for naught, and everybody's going to look at you and say, what the hell's going on with you, because of the bad moves that you made. So I think Jerry's kind of forced at this point to make something happen today and make some sort of trade that's going to get the defense at least a piece that's going to help a little bit more than Logan Wilson.
I mean, the best defender last night on Dallas's defense was Clowney.
Yeah.
And I mean, what are you going to do? I personally, I understand he's 122 years old.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know the business side of him. He wants to win now because he wants to win before he goes.
Yeah.
But in the business side of it, just look, man, if you're in a rebuild, even if it's a half rebuild, you've got plenty of draft picks. There's a ton of badass defenders coming into this draft.
Mm.
I mean, you could rebuild this team to be a playoff team, and you keep those offensive pieces. I think the more thing would be re-sign Pickens for another year or two, build this defense through the draft, and you might have a playoff team right there.
No, I agree with you. And that's probably the best way to do it for long term as well.
We're talking Jerry.
Yeah. And we're talking about a guy who, again, like you just said, wants to win now. He needs it right now because he wants one more before he goes. And it's been, God, how long?
The 90s.
30, 40, coming up on 40 years. I mean, it's wild to say, but it's true.
Uh-huh.
And unless he makes a massive move today, this defense ain't it. The offense is great when it can be, but in games like this, you're going to look ugly. And I promise you, if somehow the Cowboys can sneak their way into wild card spot, because you're not beating the Eagles, I can promise you that, not with this team. you're going to get bounced most likely in the first round because your defense can't hold anybody that's worth a dang. So if you go up against, I don't know, a Tampa Bay or any of those type of teams,
Gonna light you up.
exactly, and you're in trouble. So you need to make a move. And we'll see what that happens today. It is the NFL trade deadline. I expect a couple moves to happen some point today. The Eagles have been very, very trade happy as they usually are. We forgot to mention they traded for Jair Alexander as well to help out the secondary a little bit. But with them also adding pieces with each in every day, they may not be massive ones, but they're going to be guys that are going to contribute to the Eagles, most
Core
likely
pieces.
winning another championship if they can. The Cowboys are, again, left shackled. They have to. You have to do something in order to appease your fan base and keep you guys alive. That's really just how this is in my head. But
Are you
I agree
expecting
with
any
you.
big trades aside from Dallas today, or you think it's going to be pretty quiet afternoon?
Honestly, I like your trade for Trey Hendrickson heading over to New England. I think that would be a good one if New England makes a move in that area. I hear that New England is more focused on finding a running back than anything because they are not happy with the two that they have.
Which is so weird.
I know. And
And I know Boute's injury.
yep,
I've heard a lot of receiver talk that they could be bringing back Jacoby. I
that
mean,
would be nice for them as well. You never know. Jacoby most likely will be another name we hear move today. And I am still praying. I am still hoping. Jesus, give me an early Christmas gift, please. And find Kirk Cousins a new home. Any home. I don't care where. I don't care if he's backing up Joe Flacco in Cincinnati and we get Jake Browning. I really don't care at this point. Get him in that $100 million contract far away from the state of Georgia. Maybe send him back to Minnesota. He could back up JJ. I don't care. But I am praying. I am hope to God today that Kirk Cousins finds himself a new home. No disrespect. No ill will. I'm just, as a fan, I'm just like, it's time. It's time to move on from this. We're done. Having him on the roster is just a sour note. Let's just move on. He wants to go start somewhere. Go give him a shot because it's not in Atlanta. I'm gonna tell you right now. So we'll see what happens. We'll give you guys updates as they come throughout the morning. And if there's any major trades, I'm sure we'll hear about it as it happens right here on the on ESPN Bakersfield and the Early Bird Special. Let's take a break real quick. There's other stories in the NFL we got to get to, including Dan Quinn coming out yesterday, taking all full responsibility for Jaden being in the game and getting injured. Plus, the Cincinnati Bengals head coach, Zach Taylor, has come out on the comments that Chase Brown gave after the game, taking shots at the defense. We'll let you know about that as well. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Well, that'll wake you up. Good morning. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. We also stream video during the show every single weekday from 7 to 9 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Feel free to follow, like, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll know every single day when we go live. We also do stuff on the weekends as well. When we go out to the Raider games and stuff like that, you'll see some exclusive content. Plus, like situations like me going to the Universal stuff on the last day of the Wyatt Six maze and going to go through that and all that. You could have seen that as well if you followed us on Instagram. But if you didn't, you missed out. Sorry about that.
I did get some fantasy football news for the Chargers running back Hampton.
Oh, don't do this to me. I already read it this morning.
So he will not be returning this weekend. He actually is planning on coming back week 13 after the team's week 12 bye.
My season is over, my friend. Like between him, Mike Evans, Tucker Kraft. I mean, Joe Burrow. I am team medical tent. I am at this point, just take my money. We're good. In fact, I think I owe you one last payment, and then that will be done after that, and I can just chalk it all up to this season being a wash.
If you're with the Chargers, you going after a back?
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, I don't know, because if Vidal's working out, I mean,
aside from last week, but
yeah, I mean, again, we'll see what we will see, especially with Joe Alt now also being out for the rest of the season, has to get surgery on that high ankle sprain, which apparently was way worse than people expected. Or I shouldn't say that. I think there was some expectation of him not coming back this season, but there was some hope that it would be okay. But yeah, I mean, he had flashes of looking really, really, really good though. So maybe they do just go straight back to him and get him in the reps. But I think with Vidal working out the way he has, maybe that's the new 1-2 punch, and they move on from Najee. You know what I mean? And like just kind of move with these two going forward. The Chargers have been known to kind of run 2-3 back offenses anyway. So I could totally see them just saying, you know what? We like what we got from the Vidal kid. We like what we got from Amarian when he comes back when he's healthy. That's our horse, and that's what we're running with. Plus, I mean, Justin's looking fantastic throughout this entire season. Now he's going to have to run for his life, but hopefully
he's used to.
Yeah, and the Chargers can hopefully keep him upright enough for him to be able to throw a ball down the field to Keenan Allen. We'll see what happens. But if not, Gadsden is going to be right there to catch everything at tight end position, which we've been telling you guys for weeks. If you haven't picked him up in fantasy football, what are you doing? It's because trust me, I know that tight end that you're working right now ain't getting more points than he is. I can promise you that right now. Let's talk about some more things in the NFL as well. We got a couple coaching stories that we got to get to. Let's start with Dan Quinn. He came out and addressed the media again yesterday as everybody continued to have their questions about why Jaden Daniels was out there at the end of that game down 30 points, regardless of whatever reasoning it was. But personally, being a Dan Quinn fan, love what he had to say. Let's hear the audio.
Been thinking about it, honestly, nonstop too. And, for me, the answer is, man, I missed it. But I would, I'll fill you in on my thought process. At the start of the fourth quarter, I guess it was probably like 12 and a half minutes left in the game. And that was going to be the last drive for a couple of guys, Jaden and Zach and Debo and LT. And so we're going to have any read run plays and meaning no carries, for the quarterback on a run. And honestly, man, that's where I missed it. Of course, he could scramble. It's Jaden. It's what he's special at. And that is 100% that's on me. And I also said last night in the presser to our fans that, man, did we miss our mark as a team. And with that performance, we need to fix it. They created an awesome environment, at the stadium for the game. And that fix needs to be done now.
I mean, again, for him to come forward and own up to it and say, this is on me, that's a head coach move. I love that from him. But again, I have to echo what I said yesterday. This reminds me a lot of the RG3 situation, although somewhat different. RG3 came into the game injured and played through the injury. Jaden was left out there and then got injured. I'm just hoping this doesn't end the same way as an RG3 situation where we have a very, very talented young quarterback who has the entire world ahead of him, and he doesn't really bounce back well from these consecutive injuries. And now you hear people around the league and talking heads throwing the fragile moniker on him. And obviously there has been some injuries this year, but I don't know if we can necessarily say he is fragile the guy takes a lot of hits. I know he takes a lot of unnecessary hits at times, but I think he's a pretty tough dude. I'm hoping he bounces back mentally from all of this. Now he gets to go do rehab with his girlfriend Juju, but it is what it is. Sorry, Mom. At this point, I just hope that he can bounce back and have the mental fortitude to still say, I'm Jaden Daniels. I'm still that guy. And then year 3, we'll see a bounce forward for him, because any kind of bounce backwards, and we're going to be starting to see those two get some comparisons, because that'd be back-to-back fantastic rookie campaigns be destroyed by some gruesome injuries that nobody really wanted to see, because they shouldn't have been out there in the first place. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I'll repeat what I said yesterday. I don't personally blame Quinn, because the guy is coming off an injury and he needs the reps. And you know what you're going to get out of Mariota. I mean, I give him credit for manning up and saying, I probably could have taken him out. Yeah, but that's your position. That's your job. I mean, it happens. Sometimes it lands on the wrong side.
Right.
And when you have a athletic type quarterback that tries to make plays, I mean, that's what you want out of your young quarterback. And I think it's live and learn. I think, at that point you could have benched him at halftime if that, I mean, in that view. But I mean, as a coach, he just wants to get him some reps and get the guys moving. And the type of gameplay the style that he plays, I mean, you can't blame anybody else except that's the style of his football. He's playing a grown-up sport. It's going to happen. And if it wasn't going to happen then, it was going to happen later in the game either way. I mean, it's just a blessing for any of these players to be out there on the field playing. Any injuries can happen, and I mean, pointing fingers isn't going to heal him up any quicker. And I think it's just the style he plays. We've seen it from several quarterbacks, and I just think as long as he can get out of his own head and doesn't listen to the rumors, he's injury prone or he's fragile. I mean, nobody's fragile in the NFL, I will say, but I mean, taking these the twists and the turns when you're falling, it happens. And I just hope he gets a quick recovery, because he's a talented kid.
And to counter the fragile thing, because I just remembered I read this yesterday, it's solely a dislocation in that elbow. It could have been so much worse. So if he is fragile, the body sure the heck isn't, because it held together very well, and as well as it could have, at least. I think and I hope that Jaden is that guy where he can just bounce back next year, and we're going to just see this as an injury riddled season that we can just wash away. But I agree with you. Like I said the same thing yesterday. What were you planning on doing? I mean, Coach Quinn said it himself in that audio. That was the last drive for all of those guys, but he didn't really take into account the possibility that Jaden might try to make a play himself. And like you said, Spark, it's football. It's an adult game. Yeah, accidents happen, injuries happen, and it just was one of those situations. I think that
bubble wrap him.
Yeah, exactly. You have to chalk it up to just unhappy circumstance. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that you have to live with when you play football.
And that roster is just getting demolished with injuries.
Right.
And on top of that, they lost a linebacker to a suspension after another hip drop tackle. I mean,
which again, they haven't really been calling that out in game.
No,
but they've been calling it out outside of the game. But even then, we're not seeing a lot of the fines. That's the weird thing. You normally, when the fines get executed, you would hear stories about it on ESPN and stuff, but they haven't really told anybody about these. And this is now the 3rd time that this guy has been marked for a hip drop tackle, which if you don't know what that is, that's the new style of tackling that the NFL is attempting to get rid of because of how dangerous it is on the lower body, especially of quarterbacks. It's when players will grab you maybe at about the hip level or lower body and twist while going pretty much dead weight on their entire lower body themselves, and obviously take the guy with them. It's very, I mean, you could see it easily during a game if it's a one-on-one tackle, but it's also one of those that could be a bang play. So a lot of players aren't exactly happy it's getting removed, but
a lot of people were taught how to tackle like that.
Yeah, but it's a necessity, though, to be honest with you. It really is, because the amount of twisted up knees and ankles and stuff like that have happened because of these tackles is astronomical. So you need to do something to be able to protect the guys. But that's besides the point. It is I think you're right that just this entire season for the Commanders has not gone the way you wanted to from start to finish. And I think this year you could just chalk it up to injuries, much like we said about a couple teams yesterday, and just say, you know what? We'll see what happens next season. 2025 was not our year, but 2026 might be, because again, this team's not that bad and they're not far off from the team they were last season. If they can stay healthy, honestly, I think they can get right back to the NFC Championship game. The other side of this entire coaching story, I'm sorry, not the other side, but the other coaching story that we have to get to is from the Cincinnati Bengals, as Zach Taylor came out addressing the comments from a couple of his offensive players, namely Chase Brown, the running back, who came out and just ripped into the defense after the game in front of the media, said that he doesn't want to see his offensive players, or really his players in general, just turning on each other. That's not what you want to see. And I completely understand. And he didn't say this without giving criticism to his defense. Trust me, if anybody knows how bad his defense has been, it's been Zach Taylor. But at the same time, I kind of echo his sentiments. You can't really have the offensive players coming out and saying, can we just get one more effing stop? Now, obviously, that wasn't Chase Brown. It was Jamar Chase. But regardless, all of your offensive players are all coming out pretty much complaining to the media, saying we can't win the game because our defense can't get a stop. But you can't really have that, because that causes a lot of turmoil within the locker room in general. What are your thoughts on this, and how do you feel about Taylor coming forward?
We've been calling it since before the season started.
Oh yeah,
the Bengals didn't put money into the right. I mean, obviously they had to pay the certain guys. I think the money that they spent on T. Higgins would have upgraded that defense.
Oh yeah, which is going to be the bad part, because that ultimately I think is what's going to get Taylor fired.
Yep.
Is the decisions, much like the Dolphins in some other areas, the decisions by the general manager is going to get the other people fired, which is the wildest thing in the world to me. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm just, it's like the same old song and dance. Yeah. We've been talking about the Bengals and how they spent their offseason addressing the offense when, defenses win championships. And I mean, it's been written on the wall, man. Joe Burrow, such a great quarterback when he's on the field.
Yeah.
But when he's not on the field, I mean, they were already backed into a corner where they didn't get what they thought they were going to get out of Browning. They ended up trading inside the division for an older quarterback like Flacco. So that was a Band-Aid. And we kind of knew that the defense wasn't going to come up to par to save any games. And only way they're winning games is when, Flacco has to throw 4 or 5 touchdowns and the offenses have to win the game for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's nothing surprising or shocking, but it should be on the coach and the GM, because that was their mindset going into the offseason. Hey, let's just pay everyone on the offense and not worry about the defense. And it's biting him right in the ass.
Oh, 100%. And again, I agree with you. We said it during the offseason, especially during the T. Higgins signing, because I thought for sure Higgins would be headed to maybe New England or something of that nature. But I give kudos to Taylor just for stepping up and saying something, because, again, like he said, you can't have that in the locker room if you want to be able to win football games, regardless of what side of the ball is doing better than the other. And he's done everything he can on the field, at least as a coach, offensively, to put them in winning situations. I mean, you watch that game against the Bears. If it wasn't for one bad miscue by the Bears during that onside kick, they would never have had the opportunity to even take the lead in the first place. But outside of that, between Taylor and Flacco making the plays and just having them drawn up correctly to beat that defense, I have to give him all the credit in the world for that. But again, it's like you said, doesn't matter if your defense ain't going to step up and get a stop on the other.
I remember you saying that in the offseason. They're going to put up 50 points, but they're also
the other team's going to
give up 51.
Exactly. And that's how this season's going to go. And that's just the worst part about this. I applaud him for stepping forward and doing this in a diplomatic way, not necessarily pointing out Chase directly, but he said that it's one of our leaders, one of our guys that are very high moral guys in the locker room. So it's out of frustration. And I think it's a one-time thing. This is me actually quoting him. But again, frustrations are mounting in Cincinnati, have been for months, and it's all cornered around. You haven't made any changes defensively. You brought in a defensive coordinator that everybody was sitting there saying, don't think that's going to work out. and it hasn't. So where does the guillotine come down? Where, like, who's is it going to be Zach Taylor to get fired first? Is the defensive coordinator going to get fired first? But some sort of changes need to happen in
They're all gonna get
Cincinnati,
fired.
or the frustrations from the offensive players aren't going to stop. Jamar Chase isn't just going to stop talking. Chase Brown not going to stop talking. Just wait till Joe gets back in there. When Joe Burrow comes in and says, "I now have to score 60 points a game because our defense can't stop a cold." What are you going to say then?
And you know they're not surprised.
No, not at all. Because again, it's like you said, this
If
is
they
what
can,
you
if
asked
we
for.
can see it.
It's what I'm saying. It's a terrible, terrible season for Cincinnati. It was built to be a terrible season coming in. And to be honest with you, I think if there's any team that just needs to look at their starting quarterback and say, "You're out the rest of the year, we're tanking, and our first overall pick is going to be for the best left tackle in the game," I don't care who it is.
And then go away from the defense again.
Yep. And that, because you know it's what they're going to do. They're not going to magically just turn around and say, "We'll take a defensive edge rusher." Heck yeah. You didn't
and then
even
they'll lose Hendrickson.
But see, and then even if they did, you're not going to sign him because you just had about what, a 4-month or 2 to 3 month fight with Shamar Stewart just to get him to sign. And by the way,
How's that?
where's he?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sitting here saying, Cincinnati, there needs to be a massive overhaul before any of those players, Jamar, Chase, any of these guys, stop getting frustrated. And I don't blame them whatsoever, because they are way too talented of an offense, much like the Cowboys, to be this bad. You've got to figure something out. And this is the day to do it. It's the NFL trade deadline. We'll take a break right now. On the other side, we got plenty more to talk about. The UFC seems to be the next in the long line of sports organizations to get popped with a gambling scandal. We'll let you know what happened there. Plus, Barry Bonds might have a shot to get into the Hall of Fame on a contemporary vote. We'll let you know about all of that as we go. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. been a minute since I've heard this song. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. We're streaming video every single weekday from 7 to 9 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can you can watch all of our old episodes as well on our YouTube channel. Search up the Early Bird Special. And you can join the conversation at any point in time. Just text or call 661-842-2000. You can also chime in on our YouTube chat down below if you're watching on there. One of our followers, Bills on Parade, has just chimed in saying, I'm worried about Jaden Daniels. I don't blame you. I do not blame you. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the injury, I got flashbacks to RG3, and I'm a massive RG3 fan, and I immediately got sad. But again, I'm hopeful that this isn't going to end the same way. We're going to get some sort of bounce back from him next season. I say this is a good thing. This was going to be a bad season for Washington altogether. We're halfway through the year and it looked real rough. So I say just wash your hands of it. Let Marcus have his time. Let him try to, make something out of this season. Maybe they can pull something off here in the second half. You never know.
Some teams are rolling with, Jacoby Brissett.
That's what I'm saying.
Do it.
We are in the age of backup quarterbacks in the NFL, man. We really are.
Trade for Flacco.
Everybody else is. Why not? Why
Look
not?
at Daniel Jones. Look at him.
That's what I'm saying, man. We at any point in time, any of these guys could emerge as the next guy. Now, I'm not going to say Marcus is that guy, but hey, we've seen
crazier things.
Exactly. We've seen crazier things. 661-842-2000 is the number if you want to text or call. Do we have a caller?
Daily Dave.
Mr. Dave, how are you, sir?
Go Dodgers.
I was waiting for that yesterday. Your day off, Dave.
I had stuff going on. I couldn't get to you, but I'm still in shock. I was pacing like an expectant father. I couldn't watch the game. I had to go outside. I had to go inside. Oh, my God. Greatest game I think I've ever seen. But I guess it was just meant to be for the Dodgers,
No, again, I've heard that consensus. I personally didn't get to watch it in full. I was at a wedding on Saturday, so I was in and out of the game. I've seen all the highlights. I've heard many great things from all the pundits that watched. And again, as I've told everybody, the Dodgers deserve to win. You earned the win. I give it to you wholeheartedly. It's a fantastic win for the Dodgers, back-to-back, first one in 20 years. Now, let's see what happens after this, because personally, all this is going to do, in my opinion, is going to get all of these owners to finally open up their pocketbooks, and we'll see who can, coerce a lot of these players to either stay or leave their teams.
Yeah, well, that's a great Toronto team, but I always say the team that's the healthiest is the team that's going to win. Who was the guy from the Cheaters, the Oilers, or the
George Springer?
Texas? He got hurt, and then somebody else was hurt.
Bo Bichette was playing hurt.
All of our guys were back on the lineup. Will Smith, Tommy Edmonds, everybody was back. So we had a healthy team, but we had a lot of things go our way. Look, what about the ball that got trapped in the other game in the fence?
In the sixth? Yeah. No, so that was a heads-up play by Dean. A lot of people don't know that rule. If you go for the ball, like if you had reached at any point in time to field that ball, you wouldn't have been able to call timeout and make it a ground rule double. But that was a heads-up play by him. You're absolutely right. If he doesn't make that play, Blue Jays would have won it in 6.
The Paez catch, the Mickey Rowe plays, in second, just tremendous. I'm elated. I was at the pickleball court yesterday, and everybody's just talking, giving high fives, and everybody's happy. A lot of Dodgers fans out there.
No, and as you guys should be. You had the best roster in baseball coming into the season. You had the best roster going out of the season. And again, I have all the credit to you guys. You earned the win. The Blue Jays gave you every bit of what they could, and it just did not go the Blue Jays' way at the end of it all. I think that it was a well-deserved win.
Yeah, and it was a great parade. I watched it on the television, watched the celebration at Dodger
I didn't
Stadium.
get to catch any of it.
I was
our buddy Rob Chavez will be on the show tomorrow, which was live at the event.
And I would love to talk to him, because now I have my thoughts, though, because both Yoshi and Shohei speak fluid English, but we still need translators.
Well, hopefully next year they'll come out of their shell some more. But just great performance by total team effort, and just proud to be a Dodger fan.
Absolutely.
And, let's see what they can do next year. They grinded it out the whole year, and my hat's off to the team from Toronto. They gave us all that we could take. And,
well.
Had Dodgers fans backtracking real quick, but now that was a hell of a series.
That was
big series win, but shocked really?
I'm not necessarily shocked.
I'm not really shocked. I mean, there was
we were hopeful that the Blue Jays would pull this off, I think, but I think.
But we got what we wanted. We got a great World Series matchup, and I hope, like you were saying, I hope other managers are starting, or the team owners are saying, okay, this is what we have to do to win and get up in the mix.
Take this as a lesson. If you can't beat them, join them in a different way. In
sports, look at Green Bay lost. There was another, and then the Bears almost lost on a big lead, and that's the wonder of sports. Anything can happen.
Oh, 100%, absolutely. And any underdog can come and beat a Goliath team any year. And I agree with you. That's what we're probably going to get next year, because I don't know if they'll three-peat. That's really hard to do in any sport. But at this point right now, the Dodgers are a dynasty. You have to at least acknowledge that. They've won 3 championships in 5 years. And to be honest with you, I don't know of a lot of better teams that have been built around in baseball. So you have to at least give them their respect for that. So that's all we've really been saying throughout the last couple of days. We give you guys kudos for winning the entire series. And again, I'm just excited to see what comes from this in baseball, because if now every owner, really leans into this, we could see a lot of these teams. Baseball. Yeah, we should see a lot of players get paid a lot of money too, which I'm always in the positive about, to be completely honest with you. I love seeing players get paid. Let's take a break real quick. Thank you, Dave, for your call. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate you listening. 661-842-2000. Feel free to reach out, text, or call. We will take your calls here in the next segment as well. There's more to talk about. Like I told you guys, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens potentially have a shot to get into the Hall of Fame, although very, very unlikely. And there's been more information coming out about Brian Kelly post his firing in terms of, how he really handled the players. And it hasn't been good. We'll get to all of that by and by as well. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. This is the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. We are also streaming video live every single weekday from 7 to 9 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You'll also go back and watch old episodes at any point in time at your leisure on our YouTube channel. Just look up the Early Bird Special and like, subscribe, all that type of good stuff. They will be up there every single day. There's plenty more to talk about before we get to our guy 24 kg on the other side. Talk about Saturday night's main event, which was
an entertaining Monday Night Raw.
I agree. I absolutely agree. With a lot of storylines being built.
Finally,
Logan Paul goes from being a face to a heel again. That was wild in my opinion. But I mean, to be completely honest, are we really surprised?
No.
Is there any other thing? I mean, that boy can't be anything but a bad guy. I mean, to see him try to do a face turn would have been really weird, like John Cena becoming a heel weird. So, but we'll get into all of that with our guy KG. There's plenty to talk about in that area. Not a lot of time before we get there, so let's bounce off some of these smaller stories. Let's start with Brian Kelly, because it sounds like, at least from all of these post-firing interviews with some of the players, a lot of the people connected to the team, Brian wasn't a very good guy, or at least not a very good coach. He didn't even know the guys' names half the time. He never really got to know them. I mean, you had to make appointments with him just to talk to him in his office. Very, very closed off and reserved, it seems, from his rosters. Maybe that's by choice, just because he knows how the game is moving and getting, well, emotionally connected to a lot of these players could also bite you in the butt, because you don't know if that player is going to be there for 2 to 3 years down the line. You have to, kind of take it by ear every single year with NIL and how much these kids can make every year playing football. But what are your thoughts on this? I mean, we've kind of talked about it. We also knew, obviously, his record against, top teams wasn't the best. He wasn't exactly living up to expectations in LSU. Plus, the ultimate part of it all was the fact that he refused to fire his coordinator after having to fire and replace coordinators from the past couple of years as well, a couple months before that. But that's all, that's part of the game, in my opinion, as a head coach.
I just think he was a bad fit in that state. I think Louisiana, they want their home guy. They want their, the guy that they could walk by on Bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this guy is just more of an old school, like, let me coach and you stay in your area and I'll stay in mine. And, you don't tell me how to do my job and I won't tell you how to do yours.
Do you think that that's a suitable way to really coach anymore, though?
No.
Like, I think in this day and age, you have to have some sort of chemistry with your players. You have to be able to connect with them.
We're seeing it with guys like Belichick that we never heard. You can count the amount of words he'd say in press conference on one hand. And now he's trying to do the flip where he's the happy-go-lucky Belichick, and people don't know how to react to it. Mm-hmm. And I just think the world, or the game, has evolved, and I think with the 24-hour news cycle and everything, and especially for a team like LSU or a team like that the camera's on you 24 hours a day. Everybody's judging you. And I think he saw the writing on the wall.
Right. Well, and it creates such a disconnect, too, between your players who need to be able to trust you to put them in the right situations to be good. Because, again, these are college players who want to make it to the next level, especially if you're going to a school like LSU to play football. The whole idea is for you to grow as a player and become the next guy from LSU. You become the next Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, the list goes on. But there are players that I'm reading here from this story from The Athletic that are literally calling him a facade. Like, the entire thing felt fake, like as if they couldn't trust him at all to do anything for them. That's damning. Like, that's pretty rough, because I don't know how the heck you caught people to come and play for you in the first place.
It's the name.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be just the fact that you know who you are and they know LSU. And like I just said, maybe it's just the allure of going and playing at LSU.
Do you think that will direct the next hire?
Yes, 100%. I think that, well, we've already gotten word from the governor of Louisiana, plus some of the board members, that there will be a selection committee made. And, well, obviously with the movement off of Sam Woodward as well as the AD, I would assume that they would find some sort of pairing between the two, that they would, create a better connection with the players.
It makes me feel like they're going to make this decision on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
And they're going to hire more of a happy-go-lucky type guy that's the smiles and has got the teeth and the things. And I think they're going to bluff on this one.
That's the one thing that kind of concerned me as well when we heard Landry come out talking about it. And again, I'm not saying Mr. Landry came out and said anything that was, that was stupid or anything. He was right in what he said. But when politicians step into this kind of realm, you're automatically going to get scrutiny no matter what you say. And at the end of it all, I agree with you. I don't know if making a committee of non-football people is going to find a good athletic director and head coach for your football team going to make strides in the SEC to win a national championship, because that's essentially what you would want. And even bringing back a guy like Coach O would be great, but is Coach O's game going to transfer well to today's game? I'm not 100% sure if it will. And there's just so many contributing factors where I agree with you. Like, I just don't see this working out. And something in the back of my head is going to tell me that they're going to take a guy, like you said, somebody they're going to see on Bourbon Street, maybe an old offensive coordinator of the LSU Tigers, pay him pennies on the dollar of what they paid Brian Kelly, because that's essentially what all of this came down to, is the fact that they were unhappy with the amount of money they had to pay Brian Kelly post buyout. So now you have to figure out how to do this in a rate where the coach gets paid literally nothing around what Coach Brian Kelly got paid for, which is automatically going to be unfair.
And at one point, that was a good decision.
Right. I mean, again, well, the more I read about this entire Sam Woodward thing, though, it kind of, I kind of see what Landry's talking about, because if the two of them do have the same agent, yeah, that's a big conflict of interest, because you can get bought out big time from one school that way. And like, there's a lot of issues that we don't have nearly enough time to get into to explain. But at the end of it all, yes, I do believe this is going to affect the hiring process for them. And unfortunately, I agree with you. I don't think they're going to make the right decision.
It's an election day. Why don't you just let the community vote for it?
I mean, at this point, but again, who we said, get John Gruden on the phone right now. Get him down to Baton Rouge. Help him find a house, because that is the man that's going to find you a national championship. We got to take a break. On the other side, we're going to talk some wrestling with our guy 24KG. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Is this the humble one? Oh God. I can't do it. I know it's supposed to be a joke, but it's fantastic. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 12:30 a.m. We are also streaming video every single day from 7 to 9 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And it is time to talk some wrestling with our guy 24KG after WWE's Saturday night's main event over the last weekend, plus a very entertaining Raw last night from New Mexico. Sir, how are you?
Top of the morning, gentlemen. Top of the morning.
I hope all is well, my friend. But let's jump into Saturday night's main event. Honestly, we talked about it a little bit yesterday. Had to be the most entertaining one so far, I would say. And some of the title matches went the way we expected them to, but I wasn't exactly happy with some of the endings of some of these matches, to be honest with you. But what were your thoughts overall?
I think it was one of the better of the PLEs that they've presented over the course of the entirety of their ESPN run, their new merger, just this year in general. My biggest takeaway from it was the lack thereof commercial interruptions during the matches. Very satisfied with that. Seems like lately we've been getting bombarded with just commercial ad after commercial ad in the middle of a match, and a lot of people seem to be upset with it. Turns out WWE heard you. They've worked out their advertising systematically, satisfactory, seemingly towards the viewership, and it worked out. Everything had a nice. I was a little upset with one of the title changes, but you know, Drew is in the LA Knight category right now. It's just, high-end jobber status. Will he, won't he ever get a title shot, a legit one where he can actually have a reign? Turns out, doing a little digging, Drew McIntyre, since his last title reign, has lost 13 title shots, possibly 14. And it's wearing a little thin. That guy, he must have been paid a butt ton of money. But at the end of the day, I would like to see our boy Drew win.
It's kind of weird to me, too, that, dropping those two names specifically, Drew has been the most popular wrestler in WWE social media-wise for the last 2 years running. And LA Knight is easily one of their most organically favored faces in the company as well in that same amount of time. Why do you think they won't give them the titles? Why do you is it just because there's such giants in front of them like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk?
Not at all. It's because they got themselves over. They weren't systematically pushed down our throats. You got to remember, WWE still is the machine. They still have the Vince-isms of, you get yourself over without us, then maybe we'll show you why we allow people to get over instead of letting you get yourself over, which is kind of the opposite of what they would tell you, I would suppose, in the locker room. Hey, do what you got to do out there to get yourself over in any facet. We've got so many eyes on the product. Everything is good for your character, blah, 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 whatever, hypothetically speaking. So when it does happen,
more of
a la Zack Ryder,
they don't want to just give them the title and burn out what they're getting out of them.
Fair. That's absolutely
that is true. That is true as well. The whole "we don't want to juice this orange too soon, too much" kind of phrase comes to apply, and that. Go right ahead.
Not to cut you off, but like they kind of did that with Jey Uso.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you squeeze the orange at both ends, pause, so to speak. You get it, end up running over the glass, and I'm just going to shout out what Xavier Woods kind of pointed out to everybody, which we've seen in the WWE documentary, the baby lungs. When he dissed Jey Uso on social media doing his training and his cardio, it was like, when you want an opponent that doesn't have baby lungs, holla at me. That was not just funny because, they have a serious good friendship behind the scenes, but also poking fun at something that social media has kind of taken an eye to, what the upper brass has seen. And honestly, all these things fall back on Jey Uso. I love Uso, but the yeet fatigue is real. The apparent lack of cardio care in his game is there now. We see it. This guy's a lifelong tag teamer, a legend, Hall of Famer, Put him back in the tag team with whoever and let him shine. Let's kind of keep him away from the world title picture for the moment.
Well,
Unless
you brought
there
up the
becomes an
Yeet
opportunity
fatigue.
necessary for him to get back in it.
Well, you brought up the Yeet fatigue, and I have to ask, while it's still timely, that whole botched match with him and CM Punk, there was several hiccups during that match, including the what was it, the neck breaker, the back breaker.
That was the main one.
That CM runs out and gets him a water and throws it all over him. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Look, those are examples of, put it like this. You got to do what you got to do, correct? And everything that goes during a match, during a performance, but you also got to do everything prior to that. And I think it's apparent that this guy hasn't been taking care of his cardio. If he has, hey, I could eat crow, eat pie, eat crap, whatever. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure somebody's going to have an opinion on that. But cardio is a big part of what we're watching in any sport that requires a lot of physical movement. And I'm not saying this is all on CM Punk. There were some miscommunications on that, but being a constant professional that he is, most of the botches in this match that you can point out came from fatigue on Jey Uso's part. Now, both of them were gassed at the end of the match. But needless to say, one was more than the other, and it was very apparent. And the internet community pointed it out. It's all over social medias. It's all clipped out there for you guys to see if you want to do some research on it. But needless to say, they got through the match. Was it a stellar, star-studded performance, as they were saying on commentary last night? No, we've both seen better from both of those individuals in different matches. I just think that they had the worst chemistry.
Yeah, no,
facing each other in this match. There was none.
There's a reason that Punk left Jay's name off the list of people he shouted out last night for the next contenders. He still mentioned in saying thanks for the match, but there's a reason. Normally, if it was a great match like they're talking about, you'd hear Punk say, hey, if you want to run it back at any point in time, we will.
Yeah. And there was a lot of frustration with that match that you could also see, like with the brief kick to the head after the botched neck breaker. It was a la Randy Orton, Kofi Kingston. You're stupid. You're so stupid. I was waiting for one of those to come out. Speaking of Randy Orton, we're waiting to see his return. We're seeing War Games shape up right now in a manner of an unorthodox one, I needlessly say, after watching last night's Raw with Logan Paul. And you would think, oh, is he turning face? Hell no. Logan Paul ain't turning face for nobody. Okay, so let's just get this straight right there.
There was a level of disbelief there for a while last night. Let's be honest. We all kind of thought, okay, maybe.
When they decide to turn Logan Paul babyface, the crowd will let you know when to turn him babyface.
Exactly.
Seriously.
And I think the only thing that had me thinking was the backstage interview or promo with Uso and Paul Heyman. And I'm like, dude, it's coming. I think it's coming. Sooner or later, Uso's going to be a part with something with Heyman. It just looked like, okay, they're cooking up something.
They're brewing this baby Roman thing for him for a while now too, and I think we're gonna get it eventually. But going back to Logan, we got technically something that you, my friend, have been predicting for a couple of weeks now, which is Logan Paul somehow joining the Vision. Do you think that this could potentially be the replacement for Seth Rollins?
Temporarily, yes and no. His goals, his ideals, his energy, his character lines up with the Vision. But Logan Paul is so selfish. Can you really see him operating in a faction, a group, anything outside his own egotistical energy, man? You know what I mean? That's how his character's built. That's how his personality comes off. So for him to function in a stable, it's going to add some growth, some depth, maybe even some likability to his character that most people don't see right now.
Because I think it'll honestly,
honestly, the reaction to when he helped CM Punk, you could kind of hear people gasp. You could hear the air and breaths leave the audience.
Right.
Are we really seeing this? And it was interesting. Nonetheless, interesting to see, to play with, for Triple H, for creative to tease. We don't know what we're going to get. And that's the kind of TV we like to see, with all the predictability that's shouted about going around these days.
I think with this one is more of where the Vision sits right now. Braun and Bronson, they're not quite as sharp on the mic, and I think Logan brings that to the faction for now.
Definitely.
Have either of you watched Yellowstone?
No.
Any of it?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm still young enough to like not do it and old enough to not.
No, I totally get it. I totally understand. The only reason I watched it is
I'm like right in between,
the factor I'm about to bring up, but they literally told Braun Breaker, watch, rip, and just copy him. If anybody has watched Yellowstone, you know what I'm talking about. He's just this big, broody cowboy that's like the leader of all of them, always wears black, always has a scowl on his face. And I promise you, look up on TikTok later today. Just look up. I can't remember. I don't know his last name. I remember the first name is Rip, but it's Cole Hauser, I think. The guy that was in all the Ben Affleck movies and stuff like that. Like he's in Dazed and Confused. He's in all of those. Like you'll recognize the actor when when I'm talking about it. But they really have just told him, like, just take this guy and just follow it. And it actually fits for him really, really well. I like what we're building with Braun, but the more I thought about it last night, the more I was like, okay, I can see Logan meshing with these guys really well. And we've seen some incredible changes in some people's careers when they get matched up with a guy like Paul Heyman. Like,
definitely.
First, we're sitting here thinking Logan Paul, yes, very selfish, very egotistical. It's the YouTube persona that everybody loves to highlight. But give him a couple months with Paul Heyman, and we could be seeing a completely different Logan Paul. We can see a actual professional wrestler Logan Paul. And that's why I'm honestly, I don't know if it's going to be temporary. I think it would make a lot of sense to bring him in instead of an Austin Theory like people have been talking about. And he can just be that third guy with the two Bronsons, especially with War Games coming up. And they're going to get them involved in that at some point.
I definitely can see that happening. I'm not too sure how the Austin Theory rumors will pan out or even if they'll flush out. Definitely, we know Brock Lesnar is going to be a part of that War Games team. As far as a fifth person, that's up in the air. And I'm really hoping it's all ego Ethan Page. But Ethan Page is rumored to be one of the contestants in the John Cena this is the last time tournament or whatever it's being called. I forget the name momentarily right now, but I would possibly prefer to see that more than him just aligning himself with the vision temporarily for War Games, even though he is one of the next guys to be called up from NXT. He just won the AAA double intergender championship. Yeah, with Chelsea Green as Team Canada type of deal. They got a good thing going. So as long as he's holding that North American title down there, there might be a little postponement on his call up with how well things are working out with NXT and that whole caricature arc that he's going down. Mm-hmm. But between Austin Theory and All Ego Ethan Page in that War Games team, I just don't see it with Austin Theory, even though it would make more sense.
But again, Austin Theory has been missing from television for months now, and
long time.
Like Kit Wilson's old tag team partner, I'm pretty sure they're just waiting for the opportunity to let him go, which is unfortunate because he is a fantastic wrestler. And you've already brought it up, so let's move on to that. The John Cena, the Last Time Is Now tournament. 16 men will be chosen through all three of the major brands, plus apparently people that don't work for WWE, from what John Cena says in the promo. Who is going to be in this, do you think? How deep are we going to get in this 16-man choices? And if there are, let's say, 4 different brands that are going to be represented, who are going to be those 16 men, in your opinion?
Well, Raw's already potentially released 4 names, where we've seen with Sheamus and some other guys on that roster or whatnot. Yes, Rusev.
Sheamus.
Now, Nick Aldis, general manager of SmackDown, has 4 names to release, which we'll see this Friday. And I believe actually today we'll see 4 names from NXT/TNA, possibly, get some names in there as well. And I could see Obafemi, since he's been off TV for such a while, he could be one of those names in there, which I think people are drooling over.
Joe Hendry, most likely will
definitely Joe Hendry. Will we see a Damian Priest or a Carmelo Hayes?
Well, Damian Priest was on. Priest is taking on Rusev. I remember that one.
There we go with that one. That's already knocked right there. So I would really have to see.
That was 4 last night.
I think Finn Balor was also mentioned in that as well.
No,
I think somebody who was mentioned. Somebody was mentioned.
CM Punk that took a shot at them too.
Yeah, Punk.
Oh no, he gave them props. He definitely gave them props. Yeah, that's
it was
stellar work for JD's career.
The dude that spits blood out.
Oh, Shinsuke. That's right. It's Shinsuke.
There we go.
Shinsuke Nakamura.
So we're going to see some interesting matchups, but my concern is whom are going to be these guys that, quote unquote, don't even work here, as John Cena quoted. Will we get the alleged appearance from Edge? Rumors. I think, honestly, Matt Cardona should make an appearance in this tournament somewhere along the line, seeing as how he has history with John Cena. For people that don't know, Matt Cardona is formerly known as Zack Ryder. Now,
and they have a long history together too.
Will we get? Who do you think is going to be that guy though that we don't see? I would hope Randy's in there somewhere. They could run that back, possibly, maybe. But
see, they can't.
I'm hoping it's Edge.
The promo makes me believe that this is going to be a kid who's never wrestled him before.
Yep.
Because
has to be.
It is very, very heavily rooted in he wants his last match to be somebody to get the same opportunity that he got on his first day, which was him going down to Kurt Angle, who Kurt had, for those of you who don't know, Kurt Angle at the time on SmackDown had issued an open challenge for anybody to come down there and beat him in a wrestling match. And here comes John Cena before the rapping, before the jorts and all of this
prototype
stuff.
John Cena, ruthless aggression John Cena, walked down to the ring and smacked a piss down his leg.
Literally gave us the term ruthless aggression.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants. He wants somebody to get that opportunity. But that's also why I'm kind of skeptical if it'll be somebody like Oba Femi, because Oba's already built up. You know what I mean? It's like giving him Gunther. Like, what is the positive of giving him Gunther? Exactly. You would just have another banger match, which we already expected. But if
who in that position would fulfill that?
That's my issue. I don't know. That's why I think it would have to be somebody from either NXT or TNA that hasn't gotten a fair shake yet, or it's somebody like, I don't know, Trick or, Ricky Saints, somebody that they're really ready to give that opportunity to. I'm going to throw this name out there, but I know it's not going to happen. I would love for it to be Tony D'Angelo. I would love
you a big Tony D'Angelo fan, bro.
No, dude, he doesn't get the love he deserves at all. He's been gone from TV for months. Nobody has brought it up after that promo they did randomly where he was at dinner and then it goes black like The Sopranos.
I think he's still nursing an injury. Quiet as
regardless, I think there are plenty of names in NXT that I think you can throw out there that aren't champions right now that would get that shake. I think you'll see probably Javon Evans in there.
What's the young Randy Orton? What's the young Randy Orton guy? Miles Bourne. I think
fantastic one as well. Shoot, what's his name's son? Charlie Dempsey. William Regal's son would be a fantastic one as well. But something about that promo makes me believe that we're getting a young guy who hasn't had an opportunity to wrestle him or really wrestle on the main roster as a whole. That's going to be called up during this match. Like that's for some reason just that fits better to me. But then again, I would also love for it to be Brock Lesnar, and we finally get him beating Brock Lesnar riding off on his white horse. So I'm kind of biased in that area.
Well, my other question before we go away, because I know last night one of the big the big returns was Dom coming out with all the belts and talking trash, and his poppy coming out, and he's like, "Don't talk about my dad like that." But I mean, were you shocked?
Nice line.
Hilarious.
That was a nice line. I'm not gonna lie.
That the way they riff off each other in and out of interviews, it's one of the greatest dynamics I've seen between a father and son on television, in a sitcom situation. In real life, you can tell they have a great relationship in reality. But for how they're running this 3-4 year feud that's been going on since Dominic has turned heel has been one of the greatest things I've seen in wrestling, I think, in a long time.
We talk about long-term storytelling.
You can find interviews where they ask Ray, who are some of the greatest wrestling villains of all time? And people in the crowd shout, your son. And he's like, F my son. And he says the same thing about Rey Mysterio's dad, So the line that was with that Eddie Guerrero, he said, you're better than Eddie Guerrero. And he said, you leave my father out of this. I fell out, bro. those are the little things that matter when you're stringing together a storyline. And
I know a lot of us are pulling for the Cena though. So do you think, I know Cena's returning on Monday. Do they just drag this out where Cena just, interrupts everything on Monday night?
Pretty much. It's given WWE a reason to have a tournament when Tony Khan has burned out tournaments so furiously in AEW that now WWE fans that have been clamoring for a type of tournament, a title tournament, or anything, a number one contendership tournament, they get one now, but one of significant importance.
I'm telling you, dude, that we're going to get the interaction between Dom and John on Monday. I don't know if it's going to be in the middle of a John Cena promo, or if Dom is going to be out there talking again, and just like Ray came down, John's going to just be like, you know what? I'm tired of hearing you talk.
You're not the greatest.
Exactly. You're not the greatest. I'm going to go, and then I'm going to show you that. But the real question is, does John win? Does John take that belt off of him?
I would hope so.
Because hear me out on this. This could also tie into the tournament. Because if it's a young guy who hasn't gotten a rub yet, he could win that IC belt off of John, and it would make sense. So I don't know if it's maybe that, or maybe Dom sneaks his way into that tournament and is the guy who beats John at the very end of it all.
I could see it.
Possibly.
People love the possibility.
Yeah. If Dominic Mysterio beats John Cena, he's already made. But
he's going to be even bigger.
Super made for life. I can see Dominic losing the IC title to John and losing the AAA Mega Championship to Ray. Either way, he still goes over with the crowd as somebody that they've fallen in love with no matter what he does.
I didn't even consider Dad beating him for the AAA Mega Championship. That would be hilarious. Actually,
put the belt to them cheeks.
From that, because again, we're starting to see the entitlement from Dom in all of these episodes. He's obviously focused on everything himself while everybody else in the faction is doing their thing. And there are some signs of showing that Liv Morgan is coming back. You see the pictures in the background when he's talking to Roxanne on the couch and all of that stuff. So we're going to be seeing here very, very soon all of this success for Dom come right back down on his head.
And as I mentioned last week, I mean, there's been a lot of reports with Raquel working with, Diesel, Kevin Nash, all that. And you can tell
the title shot next week.
They're throwing it in there now. Last
You're
night,
seeing it.
The Big Daddy. Oh, Raquel.
Big Mommy Cool. Yeah.
But see, is this upcoming championship match for Raquel against Stephanie just a build-up for Liv's return?
Most definitely.
I was thinking with her.
At this point, Liv being reintroduced to Judgment Day is going to be something that either spikes the faction or sits it all the way down. It's kind of it's teetering right now where all those members are still popular. It can do something on their own, but how they appear and are presented as Judgment Day together furthers them along in their career, how I feel when I see them on TV. Dominic is a star all his own. JD McDonough, given the right platform and push, I just don't want to see him take the Finn Balor route, which Finn Balor's had a great career, but I feel like he's deserved more in that aspect. He's never had a legit world title run since he relinquished the Universal title upon injury a few years back. Now, when we look at that aspect of how he compares to JD McDonough, he's JD McDonough, student of Finn Balor, same wrestling school, brought him over. Very similar styles. JD's just a little younger, a little sharper, a little fresher, and has a little bit more intensity. The same that Balor had in his youth when you seen him just run roughshod over everybody in New Japan in the Bullet Club. So these guys getting a nod from CM Punk in the beginning, nonetheless, I think helps WWE's integrity of putting on a better product of wrestler when those guys are in the ring, no matter who they're standing across from. I just can't look at Judgment Day the same as how they used to be this, pseudo dark, broody faction. Even the Edge days when they were, he's like, oh, it's blasphemous. We came out in purple. Purple is Undertaker's color. Those were hilarious moments, but they were really the anarchist of the WWE at this time. Now they're more like the cool kids. They're like, I don't give a crap. Where's my PlayStation?
They are the Bullet Club now, dude. That's all it is. This has really just evolved into their version of the Bullet Club. With the last couple minutes, though, of our time with you, real quick, we have to talk about Jade, because Jade did win her championship off of Tiffy. We love Tiffy on the show, but we all have talked about it. Tiffy ran out of opponents, and we need a little freshness in this championship run. So who is Jade's first opponent, you think, on Friday, or at least who's going to be her first big feud?
Well, let's just skip all that. Let's just skip that for right now. I'm gonna get back to that real quick. Where's Bianca Belair? I know we're all waiting for Bianca Belair to come back from injury and all that, maybe even take the title off of Jade down the line. But that's down the line. Right now, if we're scouring the roster, we got to call up somebody from NXT. There's nobody in SmackDown that really would give Jade a good competitive run as far as how I feel immediately. Maybe over further review, I would find someone to interject into that, but Naomi's injured. Most of the people that we would put up against her in a tag team, quote unquote,
Nia.
makeshift, we could run it back with Nia, which she's always a good opponent, little unsafe, so to speak. But if that's by default, if that's by design, we got Nia right there ready for her. Whom I would like to see get an opportunity is Jordan Grace. What's her name? Yeah,
Jordan Grace.
down there. Like, come on, we might as well put the muscle in the ring, put the muscle mommies in the ring, and let them beat each other up for everybody, because that's where some money is in that match. Now, if we can't get Jordan, bring Chelsea in there. Let's put a little pizzazz, a little flair, a safe worker that can also enhance Jade and stretch out maybe a feud, because she's automatically going to be bestowed babyface status. She's a heel, but they cheer for and love her like a face. So we might as well get that thing all the way over there. Other than that, it's kind of a insert wrestler here kind of question for me at that point.
I kind of feel like Io would be a good one to swap over and have go up against her. I really do. And I mean, Liv would also be on a short list of women I'd like to say one-on-one with Jade, but I see your point. There's not a lot on the SmackDown roster right now to really get excited about outside of potentially a Bianca Belair return. And we're definitely not seeing Naomi for the next couple months. That is just not going to happen. But at the end of Saturday night's main event, the biggest talking point after Jade won and CM Punk won was the fact that almost every champion for the WWE right now, or at least major championships, are all held by former AEW wrestlers. Do you think that's by design? Do you think this is Triple H poking fun at Tony Khan, or do you think this is all happy circumstance?
No, definitely a little bit of both, all three. You know what I mean? You could really look at it and say this is where Tony fumbled with Jade Cargill, with Cody Rhodes, with CM Punk, with Ricky Saints, formerly Ricky Starks, with Ethan Page, with Mariah May. All those are former AEW wrestlers. Certain ones started off with WWE first, but they really got over in that other company, and they're all champions. Really, if you look at that, imagine how the AEW locker room feels that aren't getting the opportunity of these guys that are on TV, on AEW, that aren't being pushed, that have to fight for their storylines or television time. And they're seeing their former coworkers go over there and shine tremendously with titles, with adulation, respect, and recognition. It's kind of a kick to the grapes right there, if that's how you feel, or kick to the gut, and such to speak. But I can't imagine how they would feel. I can only imagine how creative or Tony Khan feels standing there punching air, maybe cussing out somebody on letting these people go. But it's just showing you WWE knows how to make somebody who's ready to be made. Even if they don't seem like they are, they'll know. And if it fails, oh well. But we can't say that these products are failing that we're seeing in front of us, because every one of those champions, every one of those wrestlers that I just named is a champion, and not by default, but by design.
I see. I don't know exactly how deep it goes. I wouldn't necessarily say Paul's taking shots.
No, Triple H is petty. You forget this dude invaded somebody else's show with his homies back in the day on live television and told him to gave him the DX chop. So come on, this dude, just because he's 50-something years old, don't mean he can't be petty.
No, this is true. This is true. So maybe there is more to it than I'm reading into. But personally, I just thought it was happy circumstance, and it just kind of happened that way, because these guys are all fantastic wrestlers. And honestly, they're being brewed into some of the best the company has ever seen. We have run out of time, though, my friend. Thank you so much for yours, and we will talk to you next week.
Always.
Thank you, my guy. Let's take a break real quick, pay some bills. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Nope, still salty. I get it. Hope you guys had fun last night, though. Seriously, at the Nile. For those of you who have no idea, Foo Fighters did a pop-up show here in Bakersfield last night for 600 lucky fans that were able to get to the tickets before anybody else. Still salty. That's all. It's still just a little bit.
$30. I mean,
Hard to beat
still.
that, dude. It
It's
really
like I'm
is.
gonna pay $300 to see him in LA in a couple months.
That's exactly what I said. I looked at my mom. I was like, "I'll keep an eye on the tickets, and I'll get you a pair for Christmas or something." Like, you know what I mean? Like, we'll figure out a way to get you to see this band.
Take her down to Mexico.
I mean,
they're playing in Mexico in a week or two.
That's more for Grandpa. Grandpa can call and take his daughter to Mexico because that's who usually pays for those trips. I can't afford that, but a trip to LA, yeah, I can help with that. I can get you into the Hollywood Bowl. Sure, 100%.
Breaking news.
Yes, sir. We have our first trade of the day, or at least the first major trade, as the Jacksonville Jaguars are the ones to trade for Jacoby Myers for a 4th and a 6th round draft pick. Not the team we expected Jacoby to go to. However, it does kind of make sense with the wide receivers banged up in Jacksonville. Brian Thomas, not 100% sure what his future is there as well. Travis Hunter will be out for the foreseeable future. So obviously, Lawrence needs somebody to throw the ball to, and hopefully Jacoby can find some success down there in Jacksonville. I'm not 100% sure how they're going to play him into this offense, what his role will be. I assume that he will be the main
deep threat.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that.
I don't like it.
Not maybe at first, but I feel like as they start to get some of these receivers back, maybe they start believing in Brian Thomas again a little bit more. You'll see more of him and Travis being the deep threats, while Jacoby will be the big guy in the middle that'll catch most of the passes. I just hope that this at least gets Jacoby in the right situation where he can excel at the position and really just start to show everybody what he can do. Because I feel like this guy is so much better than the teams that he's been playing on have been able to make him look like. Because even in his early days with the Patriots, during those ugly, ugly times with them, he was still looking like a pretty solid wide receiver. And I mean, again, I don't think this time with Las Vegas was really a suitable example of how good this guy could really be.
Well, if he's not, you'll hear about it real soon.
Absolutely. 110%.
I mean, if he was looking, I'm like, oh, I could go back to New England or I could play with Josh Allen. Oh, wait.
I ended up
they traded me to Jacksonville.
But again, we'll see. He doesn't necessarily have to stay in Jacksonville if he does not want to. He'll have to play the rest of the season there. But at this point, he could decide to opt out and go play for whoever he wants at any point in time once the contract is up. And if it doesn't work out in Jacksonville, like you said, we'll be the first one to let you know. And we'll be the first one to talk about it on this show. Let's switch over, though, because the UFC has found itself in a little bit of hot water as they seem to be the next in line for this whole betting scandal that's been going on. They had to release a fighter, Mr. Isaac Dulgarian, after the Integrity Compliance 360, which is a firm that monitors the betting market for abnormal activity, absolutely put up a flag in his last fight. So let me try to break this down a little bit easier. He's in the mid card. This isn't a guy that's a major name. He's working his way up. This guy's in the mid card, maybe even in the low tier card. I can't even remember where this fight was. This was also during a fight night. This isn't even one of like the UFC 18 or 360s or whatever. But this man was a 250 point favorite against his opponent, Mr. Yadier Del Valle. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I'm sure I'm not, but I apologize if I mispronounced. There was so much betting towards the other guy to knock him out in the first round, the underdog, who was a 200 point underdog at the time, that it shifted the betting odds to negative 130 for Dulgarian and plus 110 for Del Valle. If you don't bet, that's a substantial shift in points. That doesn't happen very often. And this is why I'm sitting there wondering if these guys are really doing this, if they're really telling people, I'm going to take a bow in the first round. How many people are you guys telling to affect the books like this? Because my God, to be able to shift it that much right before a fight. And mind you, that's all within a couple hours. That's not oh, well, that must have been throughout a week. No. The start of Saturday morning, he was a 250-point favorite. By about mid-afternoon, he was only a 130-point favorite. That is a massive shift in the fighting world. That does not happen at all. So obviously, I see 360 flagged it. Dana White got word of it, and they said, oh, hell no, we're not. They haven't even investigated this yet, but they've already released the guy saying, we are not going to allow any of this kind of thing into the UFC. And I do not blame them. It only takes one bad case of betting or perjury or whatever on the UFC for everybody to start saying, see, it's just as rigged as boxing was. See, it's just as scripted as their TKO partners of WWE. We cannot have that in the UFC.
I saw the report. They're overlooking thousands of fights from the last few years to double check and triple check to make sure this hasn't been going on for a while.
Yep.
And considering 360 came out and said, not only did we see the shift, but we saw the amount of bets on this general fight out of the whole card.
Incredible.
He said, dude, we don't get those types of vote or that type of
not
betting
for an undercard.
in an undercard fight.
That's like, look, man.
It's like, woo, woo.
If you tell your mama, your daddy, whatever, I'm going to take a bow in the first, put $1,000 on the other guy. Okay. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but all right. But when you start telling the whole world,
your cousins and your nephews,
and you're not the main eventer, so no one really knows you're even fighting tonight, big dog, what did you expect to happen? And like I said, Dana and everybody in the UFC is going to crack down on this so quickly because all it takes is one. Especially in today's day with everything that's going on in the NBA. You really don't think if they find one bad betting scandal in the UFC, people are going to immediately go to it's rigged. We've been losing money on this for years. Conor McGregor most likely was a fluke or was a plant or something of that nature. Like there are conspiracies going left and right, and it's going to be the end of the UFC, who is currently trying to help TKO get out of their ridiculous amount of debt. And they cannot afford this. So I am not surprised whatsoever that Mr. Delgarian has been removed swiftly. And once we figure out more about this, we'll let you guys know. But I expect this to be swiftly handled and stomped out by Dana White. And if this was true, I doubt this guy even sees Bellator ever again, let alone the UFC. So we'll talk about that more. Plus, on the other side of the break, we got to get to this Tank Davis thing because a lot of you boxing fans out there are not very happy. They had to cancel the whole fight. We talked about this last week, him getting popped for domestic stuff. And I was afraid this was going to be the case, although we didn't exactly say it during that segment. I was kind of holding out hope that maybe we won't have that kind of an issue and all this will be taken care of afterwards. But no, they came out yesterday and said the fight is off. Jake Paul will be looking for a different opponent. And Tank Davis, his career might be in jeopardy. I'm not going to lie to you. So we'll talk about that plus a couple more stories before we get out of here. And we'll get you guys' text messages too. 661-842-2000. Feel free to text or call in. We'll get to all of you guys right after this break. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. Early bird special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 101.1 FM, 1230 AM, as well as streaming video on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch every single day from 7 to 9. Feel free to like, subscribe, follow us, all that type of good stuff. Before we get to Tank Davis and all of this, I totally forgot we got to talk about Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, who have a potential possibility to be voted into the Hall of Fame of baseball through a contemporary vote. Now, like I said, still very unlikely only because of who they're going up against. Because the rest of the guys on this list, Carlos Delgado, Jeff Kent, Don Mattingly, Dale Murphy, Gary Sheffield, and Mr. Fernando Valenzuela also will be voted upon. And only 3 men get in at the very most, I believe.
Barry's a lock.
I think Barry is a lock. I'm not sure about Clemens, to be honest with you. Clemens was on the ballot in 2022 and got less support than he got with the writers, which tells me players don't necessarily want him in there.
No.
Now,
I could see Mattingly.
I could see getting in there. Nando, for sure, I could see getting in there. Gary Sheffield. I mean, a lot of these guys, Jeff Kent, I could see all of them really.
Delgado, yeah.
You could make an argument for all of them. But I agree with Sparky. The only one that I feel like should be a lock from the players would be Barry. And that's only because even before the steroid allegations and whatnot, the players still see Barry as
the GOAT.
They still genuinely see Barry as the best batter of all time. So
even announcers, when they talked in the World Series, they bring up Barry every game.
And for those of you who don't know how this contemporary stuff happens, it all happens in a 3-year cycle. Each year is a different group of men who vote based on different different categories or whatever, but it's all to get these guys into the Hall of Fame. We'll know the finalist by December 7th. And like I said, hopefully we'll hear of some of these guys. I think only 2 were inducted in last year, but this is a more player-centric committee this year. So I would expect this to be more based around who the players want represented in the Hall of Fame. And I have to agree with Sparky. Barry, to me, seems like a pretty good lock. Roger, though, not so much.
Roger.
If it wasn't for the fact that Barry was a batting god before the steroid allegations, I would say Barry wouldn't get in either.
Yeah.
But because you could really break Barry Bonds' entire career into 2, and he's still a Hall of Famer on both of them.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to argue that he doesn't deserve to be in there, even if a steroid was used at some point in time. And I also like to point out, in this committee alone, this committee that'll be voting this year, Mark McGwire was one of the guys who was voting in it. So if we're going to allow these guys to vote but not be in the Hall of Fame, that's kind of weird in my opinion. But I don't know. That's just me.
We got some news from the Bleacher Report following up on a story we've been talking about for a month, but the LA Clippers owner, Steve Ballmer, has now been sued by 11 aspiration investors who alleged that Ballmer used the company to secretly funnel millions of dollars to Leonard.
Get him.
The NBA.
That's what's up. I kind of thought about that when we were breaking. So for those of you who haven't been following this or haven't been listening, the entire Steve Ballmer story with aspiration, there has been some things coming out of the NBA that potentially the Clippers used a company that Steve Ballmer has stake in to circumvent the salary cap of the NBA to get Kawhi Leonard more money to come and sign and play with the Clippers. They did it in a way where Kawhi Leonard was essentially a spokesperson for the company, but literally did no work for them whatsoever. And even had a clause in the contract where he said if he didn't want to show up to anything, he didn't have to.
Yeah, just money.
So it was all just free money for him. I love this because, as Sparky just said, that means 11 individuals who used to work for that company, including most likely the people who have come forward in this already and said that this was all done to circumvent the entire thing, and pretty much of damn Steve Ballmer and all of this have said, nah, you're not ruining our lives too because we went bankrupt because of you, and we're not going to allow that. And I love that. I don't know exactly what is going to be coming in terms of the ownership of the Clippers. I would assume the NBA is going to have to do this for the second time in a decade, what they had to do a couple years ago and force Ballmer to sell this team. But we will get that answer as soon as all of this really comes to a head. Because if Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers are seen as guilty in all of this, because I assume Kawhi is going to get in trouble for this as well.
I don't think so.
You don't think Kawhi will get something? Because,
No, I think he was just the one that was.
But see, that here's my thing.
I don't think they can tie that into Bomber's pocket.
I mean, that's fair, but I don't know. In my head, I'm sitting there thinking, you're the player benefiting from this. You know this is happening. You have to get some sort of punishment for this. Not like you're going to be banned from the NBA. I'm not going to go that far, but suspension at the very least. Which, I mean, for Kawhi Leonard is just a long vacation. He's barely on the court as it is for the Clippers.
But keeping it in the financial side of the NBA, I had to throw this out because looks like a senior finance executive for the Atlanta Hawks.
Oh, I saw this as well.
Is now getting charged with wire fraud and embezzlement after allegedly diverting about $3.8 million in team funds to cover personal expenses.
See, I haven't gotten a chance to read into this fully yet. I was going to do that tonight, and we'll get you some more information on it tomorrow. But
it's over almost $4 million in luxury cars, international trips, and gifts, and he was writing them all off as just business trips for the team.
You know, I know everybody likes to run with, or everybody who hates on the NBA, I should say, likes to run with the idea that the NBA are just a whole bunch of gangsters playing basketball. I'm gonna throw
the real gangsters.
Dude. Yeah, the real criminals are the owners. Let's be honest, or the executives. I mean, this is becoming a ridiculous thing. We're going to be piling on. I don't think Bolt Brady, our handicapper on Thursdays, has been the first one to say it, that there are going to be more names coming down on this betting scandal. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of those names are NBA executives as well as players. I think that a lot of people are just kind of thinking about the players right now. But who's to say that owners don't do this too? Who's to say owners aren't, or I shouldn't say owners, but just, you know what I mean? Like people within the organization as a whole aren't leaking information or potentially making bets on the side on players who they know aren't going to be playing a certain day. You know what I mean? Like who's to say they're not attached to this as well? And for all of this to be coming up at the same time for the NBA, when they desperately need viewership to start going up. I mean, unless you're
wrong time.
It is, but unless you really lean into the idea of, you know, all publicity is good publicity, I guess. But I mean, I don't know how the heck Adam Silver is going to fix this. I mean, David Stern had his issues, don't get me wrong, but this is a whole different scandal, a whole different monster. And honestly, I don't know if it's going to be as easily cleaned up as
it looks like it's bigger than him.
Was. Yeah. And it's going to be really rough for him to be able to just work his way through all this and potentially find a pathway for the NBA to rebuild itself, because it's going to need it. It's going to need it big time if all of this comes out to be true. We got to get out of here for the day, though. Thank you guys for listening. We greatly appreciate it. Join us back here tomorrow, 7 to 9, every single day for the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. And feel free to text and chime in at any point in time, 661-842-2000, or leave a comment on our YouTube right down below this video. We do see and read all of those, and we will address them as we can as the week goes. But until we see you guys tomorrow, we got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. We'll be here tomorrow with all of the updates from the NFL trade deadline today. But until then, we will see you guys tomorrow. Sparky, let's get out of here.